Who's in that fifth hole, you think? I'll tell you who it is. It's the Prescott Curly Wolves is number 5.
And that's the reason Parkview may be considered the number 1 team regardless of classification in Arkansas.
Big day for Arkansas with that announcement. But it really trained me as a quarterback to know what was going on. If you dropped a fork in the team dinner, I mean, it was like you're wondering if you need to take a lap.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Bray Cooker. Man, the mouth is out on assignment.
Still.
Holy cow, Coach Cook. My gosh, everything. What a show do we have today, and what information do we have today, and what guests. It's unbelievable. I mean, coming right out, Bobby Petrino getting returned back to Arkansas as offensive coordinator. We're going to talk about that. We've got Tyler Wilson, former Razorback quarterback, coming on. We've got a huge show for you. We're getting our high school state playoffs, our state championship games and playoffs. We've got, obviously, Daryl Fimple coming on. We've got Rick Jones coming on, trying to coach some coaches about how you deal with all that. And then we got Chris Young, the head football coach at Greenwood, coming on, playing for a 6A state championship. But let's get into it real fast. Let's get about the top news before we bring Tyler on. Bobby Petrino coming back, your former coach. Talk to us. What your thoughts? And we'll get Tyler on here and get his thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome hire. The excitement that just on Twitter, just the excitement going around the fan base, and the people have something really tangible and to be excited about. And it's a cool storyline. Obviously a lot of success here at Arkansas. It ended how it did, and then for him to have the opportunity to come back. And the future's wide open, and for him to have the potential to redeem himself and come back and climb that mountain, and as excited as the fans are for his return, I think the future is it's a very exciting time for Arkansas football, which it wasn't about 3 days ago.
And it's amazing to me. I mean, just how the whole fan base could turn around off one hire, and Coach seems excited about coming back, and he did have love for Arkansas when he was here, and getting him back, and we'll get Tyler on here in a minute, and get his thoughts and your thoughts. Y'all both played for him, and what you think it brings to the Razorback program. But we got a great show, and really looking forward to it and excited about it. But let's go ahead and bring on our BSN guest, Tyler Wilson. Tyler, how you doing, man? Looks like you're having a good time out there in Frisco, Texas.
I'm in North Dallas, having a good time. We're opening up a school up here, but man, I'm great, and obviously big news last night with Coach Petrino back in town. Bray, I know you're familiar, and certainly I am, and lots of discussion around offense and what direction we go moving forward. As a Razorback fan, you wonder about that, and you almost feel like Coach Petrino's not even in the conversation, and so it's just kind of that's what the old men talk around cigar over, but never would come true until it becomes true, So big day, I guess, for Arkansas with that announcement.
Well, there's no doubt, and I'll ask you both this is, Coach Petrino coming back. Obviously he was at A&M, was at Missouri State. His records as a play caller is, one of the tops in the country. Everything we've gone through, and then, especially with the offensive line last year really struggling, you got to have players. And Coach came into a situation with you guys, coming in after Coach Nutt, and there's a good core group there. This team coming back, obviously don't know portal, who's coming, staying, what's coming in and out. But what does Coach need to do as far as getting this offense back on track? Go ahead, Tyler. You go first, and Bray finish up.
Yeah, I think you look at this year. I mean, if you're trying to be an optimist for Arkansas, you say, well, shoot, you're in almost every game. I think there were 7 or 8 games in the calendar of the year where you lose by less than one score. And you go on the road. You have some positives against Florida, which is anytime you go in the swamp, even against a bad Gators team and win, you can't do that with a bunch of high school guys on the field, right? I mean, you've got to have some dudes to go in So, I think fundamentally, to me, it feels more of a year of management. The woulda, coulda, shouldas, and really close games where you miss a call here. I think you're playing at a place at Arkansas where you can't. It is players, but you got to be a dang good coach to coach at Arkansas and go back and critique your coaching as well and say, I can't have 4 calls in a game that I want to have back. You might get 2 of those that you can say, yeah, we should have called this different, but you got to be as perfect as you're asking the players to be as a coaching staff. And, I think offensively, you probably have a lot more than 3 or 4 calls that per game that you'd probably say, I'd like to have that one back. And I really think this as a quarterback under Petrino, there weren't many plays in a game where he, there were certain games I'd probably go here or there, but he does as good a job as anybody in college football at managing, the game, predicting blitzes, calling screens at right times, calling draws at right times, kicking field goals at the right times, going for it at the right times. And that's a magic of a play caller that few people have. So, I look at that and separate from the players, I just think, just that announcement, I think gives a lot of people energy. And then obviously you gotta have a quarterback to run it. You gotta have an offensive line, all those things. But I think there was a note sent by KJ today and maybe some misinformation. So interesting to see one who Petrino goes after as a quarterback, several in-state guys that could be legit. And then, what happens overall with this roster in the offseason.
Yep.
Yeah, he's exactly right. And one of the things, thinking back on my freshman year as a young offensive lineman, one of the things you respected about Coach Petrino is exactly what Tyler said was you always knew what the game plan was, and you knew that if you executed, it was going to be effective and you were going to win ball games. And he's right about the quarterback as well. As there were so many checks and things that go into things. You did different options that you knew that Tyler was going to call, and he's going to call him correctly because he's a hell of a quarterback.
That's always partly right, Bray. Let's be real. You said that dumb son of a gun. He better get out of the hand as fast as he can because we don't have the blocking scheme right. But I did know where to throw it. I will say I didn't know where to throw it. I didn't know where they were coming from. I knew where to throw it.
Exactly. I mean, you knew what was going on, and even as a lineman, I knew North Bruce was coming. I knew the check they were about to call, and Tyler would walk up, execute it. And you knew it was going to be effective because you trusted and you'd seen it work before.
There's no doubt. I want to ask you a little key word about Coach here. And you guys know him. I've watched you guys practice a lot over there when y'all were there. Organization-wise and preparation and practice, the practices were just as good as I've ever been around when he was here, especially on the offensive side of the ball where he spent most of the time. Give me a little nugget on, is it the preparation, the intensity, the execution? What's the word there that you think one word describes? I mean, it's not one word to describe Coach, but what you think one word or two that's going to bring him in here, what you're looking for?
Yeah, Bray, you might echo this. I think one, just discipline, period. I mean, it brought an edge to the whole locker room. I mean, if you dropped a fork before, in the team dinner, I mean, it was like, you're wondering if you need to take a lap. So, I think discipline, one, and then two, just total, I think that discipline breeds a lot of other words that come behind it, just consistency and from an offensive perspective, I know I joke with my buddy Jake Beckett all the time. He's like, well, defensively, I don't think we ever landed a blitz in 4 years of practice. And that was because, when we're going into practice, the whole practice was scripted for the offense to run East Georgia when they were bringing a field blitz, right? So, unfortunately, for the defense, it wasn't as fun in practice, but it really trained me as a quarterback to know what was going on. I got to the NFL, they were bringing all out blitzes on my first rep of the day, and we have no checks, and it's like drift to throw the corner out. But under Petrino, he breeds, I think, a mentality offensively that the training allows you to really be successful when you finally get to game day.
He's absolutely right. You know, it comes from the discipline that is in every aspect of the program. And to thinking back on those pregame meals, you were running laps, so you dropped that fork. It's one of those situations where you know when you're supposed to be serious and you almost kind of laugh a little bit. These were so serious that there was no laughing. You didn't even think about laughing. I mean, you're so focused and locked in. But that's what he's going to bring to the offense, which is going to be fun to see as a fan. One, to see somebody else go through it, but two, to see what comes out of that. And what comes out of that is understanding of what we're trying to accomplish offensively.
No doubt. Tyler, let's hit this with you. That quarterback room, and he can coach quarterbacks. I mean, the history's there. All the great quarterbacks he's had, and the ones he makes better. What's he going to bring to that quarterback room that we probably hadn't had here in the last few years, not against the other guys?
Yeah, I think I was talking about this today. I think he's evolved as a coach. I mean, just not me talking to him on a day-to-day basis. I spoke to him probably a year ago, and he was writing a book, and I said a few words that I don't know if they ended up landing in the book or not, but everything was complimentary just on how he teaches. But I would say the quarterback room, he was around, but he was the head coach, and we obviously had Garrett McGee as our quarterback coach. But I think before the games, pregame, he went through a full, he went through a pretty intensive, situation A, B, C, and D. What do you do? And I remember, this like yesterday. We're playing LSU at LSU. We're number 3. They're number 1. And we have an ISO called. Bray, you probably remember this. They had an ISO called, and they stemmed to Diamond Bear with like a half a second left on the play clock, and I leave the play up and run it into a wall, and we get stopped on third and real short, and we have to punt early in the game, and I got, why didn't you check G? But that, I mean, it's hard to be quarterback, and you have to understand, you have to have a high level of self-confidence or some ability to shake off the tough love and understand that it was meant in a certain way. Some people crumble. They just don't have the DNA to be able to take that. I think any quarterback that's played for Petrino does not have they might come in with a soft shell, but they don't leave with a soft shell. And I think that breeds people that make plays in key situations. And under his perspective, they all raise their level of play. Everybody.
No doubt. Mm-hmm. Well, Brady, let's hit this. Let's go over the old line room right there. And one thing I've always talking to Coach, about X's and O's here when I was coaching, he was here, was everything's got to be protected. Mm-hmm. Before we can do anything, which we all know, if you don't protect, well, we just watched it. If you don't protect, you can't do anything.
Sure.
And what's he going to bring to the room as far as O-line? And plus, you got Sam Pittman there and Coach Kennedy there, mm-hmm. who are experts in their field. And putting those two minds together, what do you think about the offensive line room?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for them and the opportunities in front of them. And I'm going to tell a quick story. You'll probably know better than I will. A&M, it was my freshman year, your senior year. We're down at half, and Coach K and Coach Petrino install a protection. I believe it was sort protection at halftime. And we come out there, and A&M have been giving us some trouble, and we install this protection in the locker room. Come out, walk through it a little bit, and we go out there, and obviously Tyler goes nuts, and we win that ball game and win the trophy game in Dallas. And I tell that story all the time because that protection really was one of the big turning points in that game, and really just kind of cemented as a young offensive lineman, like, oh, this is a different level of football. And that's what he's going to bring to the O-line room. And obviously, with Coach Pittman's ability to create those relationships, the teaching that Bobby's going to bring, I think it's a dangerous duo, and I'm excited for it.
No doubt. Let me hit this, and we hit this summer. He went to A&M with Jimbo, and everybody was worried about how that was going to work out. And and you look at the national media, I listened to Pat McAfee today, and they had it, talking about coach and this. How does, which I don't think it's going to be a problem. He kind of stayed low with him and Coach Pittman, both being head coaches. Mm-hmm. And Coach Pittman's not a big ego guy or anything like that. It's obviously just wants to win. How do you see that relationship?
Yeah, I just watched a little bit of the A&M game. After they let Jimbo go, and really surprised they didn't name Coach Petrino, the interim coach. The camera on the sideline was going to the other guy they named the interim, who has a defensive line background, I think. But you could still tell on that sideline as I'm watching the camera, I'm going, Petrino's running this whole thing here. I mean, they take LSU down to the wire, in kind of a total dysfunctional, situation. He was calling. I thought he called one of the better offensive games I've watched this year. And Robert Griffin, who was doing the play-by-play, was like, he's throwing the kitchen sink at these guys. They don't know what's coming. And so, I thought, it was a unique situation this year when he takes the job. One, he gets back into the SEC, which that's the first step. And I think coaches always wanted to be in a meaningful environment where football is big. I think he fits so well at Arkansas. He's built that reputation. I think anytime you have big memories, meaningful memories anywhere, you have admiration for that. And I just think, he'll wear that black leather jacket and cowboy boots well here, and he'll not that it didn't work at A&M. I think he fit in well there. Just obviously the dynamics with letting Fisher go, there's a reset button going to happen. But I think he was responsible for a lot of the success that happened this year at A&M. And to me, it wasn't a failure of a year at A&M. I know they have different standards, but considering where they were at last year, it was definitely an improvement offensively at A&M.
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, what's your take? I mean, everybody wants to win. And at the end of the day, when everybody wants to win and you keep egos out, I mean, what's your thought process? I mean, through that whole situation. You watched it when he was at A&M was, there was a bunch of stuff coming out in the summer, and he has a press conference and pretty much seals it. And, besides calling plays, you didn't hear from him much. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, this is going to be a heck of an ESPN 30 for 30 one day. I mean, the return of Bobby Petrino is an exciting, hopefully, return to glory. And I think that hopefully, he's bought into that. And this is an opportunity for him to come here and win ball games. And like you said, in a very meaningful role, especially, considering his past here at Arkansas.
No doubt. Well, Tyler, man, we appreciate you coming on. Any last thoughts? I mean, I talked to you earlier today. I mean, kind of some that, put a closure on this, sum it up. Your thoughts, your feelings when you first heard it.
Well, guys, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm always a Razorback. It'll be with me forever. Some of my greatest memories in life are putting on that red uniform, man. But, with as much since the motorcycle wreck, I'll just be very honest, there's been so much change and turmoil and just inconsistencies and lack of continuity that I've felt as even a past player. I didn't know who to call up there, and I think just this kind of this ghost that kind of looms over all of our heads, hopefully, is mended by the return, and we can all get past all that now. And also I hope with players like Bray and a whole generation of guys, that really had those success stories are included back and feel like the camaraderie of being a Razorback and being a part of that fraternity still exists and is still strong. Because I don't know if, due to the fractures, I think unfortunately sometimes that hadn't been the case over the last, 10 years. So that's what I hope. I also, I have no question as he's gonna dial up good offensive football, and what we see on Saturdays is going to look like we practice every day. We know what we're doing, and that's all you can ask for. Wins and losses are always a measuring stick, but how the team plays, the competitive nature, that edge, and just looking like looking like we play good football, to me, is 90% of the battle of being a Razorback.
Man, that's awesome. Well, let me ask you this before I get you off here. Your Greenwood Bulldogs, buddy. Greenwood Bulldogs over there getting. It's not a home game for them this time. We're going down to Little Rock. We got Coach Young on later on. I mean, what we got to do here, man? It's Archer kid that they keep comparing him to you and things like that, and all the great quarterbacks come through there. Well, how you feel about the Bulldogs this weekend?
Well, I think he's better than me. I'll start by saying that, but a lot better than me. I was just there. But I think I really do think that this is the best Greenwood football team that we've ever seen. There might be some old guys coming out of the closet and say, we're better. But no, this is the best football team. I watched them in person at Pulaski Academy in Little Rock. I was on the sideline because that stadium's real low to the ground. And there's more speed at Greenwood than I've ever seen. Wide receivers are really good. Made some unbelievable catches last week. I was home for Thanksgiving and watched them play in the semis, also against PA. And Archer just, he does it. I watched, against, other quarterbacks that are highly touted and going to other SEC schools. As a sophomore, to me, he runs circles around them and puts the team on his back and makes plays. But I think it's a offense, defense. Chris Young's done a fantastic job and elevated that program. I really think they'll win by double digits.
Double digits! Double digits!
You heard it here first.
Put them in the book, boys. Get the book out.
I'm gonna get in some trouble this weekend as I'm a Little Rock guy now.
Yeah,
Little Rock
I know.
Sure.
5 minutes from Little Rock Christian, so I might catch some flack for that comment. But I think they're the better team for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're putting Tyler Wilson in the black book here, double digits. We will check your work,
Call
have you
Triple
back
Crown.
on again, and we will remind you what goes on with this. We'll check your work. You might be right. But so we're going to make our picks a little bit later on.
I don't know. All right, love you guys. Had a lot of fun. Y'all got anything else?
We're done.
No,
See you, buddy. Thanks for coming on,
Great
man.
to see you.
Sounds good. See you guys.
See you guys. Let's do this. Let's go ahead with big state championship week. Let's shift our focus to high school a little bit here. We're going to bring on a man, works for the Arkansas Activity Association, going to do play-by-plays, done it the last 6 years, and Bobby Swofford, and break these games down. Bobby, you're going to be doing the play-by-play this weekend. You're going to be rolling. How many years have you done this now?
This is going to be I think the 6th year that we've put it on television, but I've been doing high school sports since 2003 in Arkansas. So this is an old hat for me.
Well, I know you've been around. Everybody knows who you are, but I'm dealing with high school sports. That's no doubt about it. But y'all been doing that for 6 years, man. We got some big games. Talk to us a little bit. And let's get into it. And I know it's early in the week, and you hadn't got everything broken down, but I know you've been eyeballing these teams all year long because you're going to be calling the state championship game. Let's start with our 2A game at Friday noon. Hey, the boys at Bigelow, they just get down and dirty over there, and EPC. Talk to us about break that game down. EPC's been rolling all year. Bigelow just been they're undefeated and really put it on Mark Tree this past Friday. Break this down. I mean, epic matchup. Really, two teams are not familiar being on the big stage.
Yeah, Bigelow's been knocking on the door the last couple of years. They've had several undefeated regular seasons in the last handful of years, and so it's nice to see them kind of break through that barrier, if you will, Coach. Maybe the success of the basketball program helped them get over that hump mentally. They got to the finals last year, and now the football team's there. You mentioned they're undefeated. They just do what they do. They're really not tested much, and they haven't been tested much in the regular season. They kind of roll through their conference. Hector's always been their biggest hurdle, if you will, in the regular season. But they get through that. But they get to the playoffs, and they haven't slowed down at all. You go 41-13 over Mount Ida, 20-point victory over a good Desark team. Coach Barbary and I were college football teammates. So And then you mentioned the win over Mark Tree. That was a conference that we thought we might have a lot of success in the postseason. They certainly did, but to get a 16-point win on the road there, it's pretty impressive. And now that they're facing an East Poinsett County team that I've had my eye on all season, Jeff, because one, they've got maybe the best player that most people have never heard of in Dennis Gaines. I mean, he's a guy that had 44 touchdowns last year. They're not relying on him so much this year. They're kind of spreading the wealth a little bit. But I mean, he's going to be the best player when he steps onto the field. And when you look at matchups like this into a state championship game, you always want to point to, okay, who's the best player? How do you get him the football? And EPC is not going to have that issue. And then you add the fact that they took down Carlisle, the defending state champ from a season, or runner-up from a season ago. Obviously, Hazen won it last year. So I like EPC's chances just because they've got the best player. But Bigelow's, again, they've been so close, and maybe this is finally their time to lift that gold trophy.
Well, and you don't ever know how people react to those things.
Right.
You know, something about that stadium on that Saturday, people do some weird things, and people come, do things that you might not even think they do.
That's right.
Or negatively. And, man, it ought to be a great matchup. EPC's just been rolling, but Bigelow with that, beating Mark Tree like that last week really, opened a lot of people's eyes, obviously. Well, let's go to our 6:30 game. We've got, and I think this is I don't even know where to begin with this one. I mean, this is a matchup everybody's been talking about. They've already played one time. We got Little Rock Christian and Greenwood. And what, to me, Bobby, what's very interesting in this game is, Greenwood played Little Rock Christian earlier in the year at home. And really, if you take the last 2 minutes of the second half and the first 3 minutes, the last 2 minutes of the first half, the first 3 minutes of the second half, that really tells the tale of that ball game. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to role reverse this, and now Little Rock Christian's pretty much having a home game, and Greenwood's on the road. Chris Young's been there every year. Yeah. He's been the head coach knocking on the door. I think he's got a great team. But I watched the Benton Little Rock Christian game this past week, back and forth, and Walker was just dead on all night long against those guys. Two great quarterback matchups. Really looking forward to this one. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm looking forward to as well, because what teams who have had success, and there's not many of them against Little Rock Christian, it's what they keep Walker White in the pocket. They don't let him beat him with his legs, and they get pressure. And then they force him into some throws that he'd like to have back, and that's what Greenwood did, like you said, in the last couple of minutes of that first half, and then they kind of snowballed from there. But to me, for Little Rock Christian to be successful, they've got to get that quarterback run game going. So one thing that we have to kind of get out of the way is Little Rock Christian, with the win over Benton on Friday, they're moving up to Class 7A. So this is their swan song in 6A, and so they're going to be moving up to the largest classification, but they want to go up with the title, and they've got a talented roster that is almost second to none, to be quite honest. And I know Greenwood hammered them pretty good in the regular season. Shiloh was able to run the football against them in the non-con, and that's why they got that game. But I mean, you're talking about Aoki, the running back. I mean, they've got talented players all across the board. Maybe one of the better and more impressive looking offensive and defensive lines you're going to see that's not a 7A football team. But it all starts with that quarterback. You're exactly right. And can they protect the football? Can he make the right decisions, the proper decisions to put them in good situations? And on the other side of things, I don't know what you do to slow down Greenwood, to be quite honest. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback in Kane Archer who's got 36 touchdowns in the last 5 games. And what they do, they don't run the football a ton. And Coach, you've seen Greenwood play through the years. They don't run it a bunch, but they run it enough that if you don't account for it every play, they're going to gash you. And that's why Archer's so good in the run game, because you're not expecting quarterback draw or the option read, and all of a sudden he's 15 yards down the field and you can't catch him. But, you go Carnes and LJ Robbins. I mean, they've got receivers for days at Greenwood, and Archer puts it on them. His completion percentage this year, I want to say, is north of 75%. I mean, he just doesn't make mistakes. I mean, they don't necessarily force it down the field, talking 30 and 40-yard attempts, but that they will wear you out in that mid-range. That 8 to 20 yards, they will light your defense up if you're not fundamentally sound on every play. And that's what they've been doing for 25 years. I know you're talking to Coach Rick Jones about it later. I mean, this is exactly the same thing that he did during his impressive run there at Greenwood. To me, the difference in this game is going to be defense. Cash Archer, Kane's older brother, and the 6A West Defensive Player of the Year. He's got, I believe, a dozen or more sacks on the season. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but the ability for teams to block him has escaped everybody. And that's why they're undefeated. They've got to win over a Stillwater team early in the season that looked like it was a cakewalk. Guess what? Stillwater's playing for a state championship next week. It's just they've been on a roll all season long, haven't been tested really all season long, but crazy things can happen in War Memorial.
Well, and that you nailed it. And I tell you, the hidden thing everybody talks about is the quarterbacks and offenses. Both of them pretty solid on defense. I mean, probably one of the best two defenses in 6A, and usually that's why they're there, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's head over to Saturday afternoon. Probably the prize of if you're sitting here in June, July, or even last week, maybe everybody is talking Conway Bryant, Rock Central. What's the West going to do? And we had Jody Grant on here earlier this summer, and he said we got to figure out a plan to beat Bryant, obviously, and as a conference. And lo and behold, you look up in the West, it's all West here in the 7A. Nobody would have predicted that, but I think we got two good football teams that are playing really, really well at the right time. Fayetteville over Conway last week in a great ball game. I was actually there, and then came back and watched the Bentonville Bryant game. Bentonville, they're just playing with a chip on their shoulder. Playing with a chip on their shoulder. You look at Fayetteville playing, they're undefeated, a lot of confidence. Man, the quarterback play in this one also is just going to be outstanding. And what do you see? That's probably the surprising two teams. They were not surprised that they're there. I wouldn't say that's surprise is a bad word. Man, just you got to congratulate both of them on getting there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you almost feel like you're back in the mid-2010s, right? You got Fayetteville and Bentonville in the finals. I mean, we're used to this. You and I are used to this, but maybe people who haven't paid attention to high school football for as long as we have would never have expected this. But and you're right. The way that the quarterbacks have played for these two teams, Carter Nye for Bentonville, obviously Drake Lindsay for Fayetteville, is why they're here. But we got to start with Friday night. I mean, you go on the road and you've got the 5-time defending state champions on the brink of getting mercy ruled. I mean, it's 42-28 for a lot of that second half. I mean, they had a chance to really hammer it home, and it wasn't because Bryant turned the football over. Because I was reading the box score, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I was going back to the box score. It wasn't that Bryant turned the football over and made all these huge mistakes. Bentonville was just fundamentally sound. So guess what? Jody Grant's team is fundamentally sound. Shocking, right? I mean, that's all that team does is they make the plays that are in front of them, and they will punish you if you aren't right where you're supposed to be every given play. The Bryant defense, the Bryant offense, they will put up 500 yards almost in that game. But guess what? When they got to the red zone, they couldn't get the job done. And you tip of the cap to Bentonville to put up that many points on the team. And they took someone who's not used to being bullied and bullied them around. And that doesn't happen at that level very often. And so obviously it's pretty impressive, especially after that team started 0-2. They lose to Conway in the last minute of the game in the regular season, and also they lose to Kansas City Rockhurst. And everybody's questioning, is this the downfall of Bentonville? Well, obviously that was greatly exaggerated. Fayetteville got the better of them in the regular season, and the Purple Dogs have just been rolling right along. I mean, Casey Dix got himself a monster again. Not everybody thought that this team was going to be as good as it was a couple of years ago when they got to the finals, when they probably should have beaten Bryant in the championship game. They had all those red zone turnovers, the blocked field goal for a touchdown, but still had every chance to do it. But Drake Lindsay's, I mean, every time you look at the box score, I mean, it's unreal. And how somebody other than Minnesota, I'm not saying that Minnesota's not a great team and why he shouldn't go to Minnesota, but how somebody closer to home hasn't offered this kid, because he's got a cannon. He's a big-time quarterback. He can make all the throws, but it was trying to get up there. Every time you look at the box score, he's got 285 yards and 5 touchdowns. Doesn't make mistakes. Doesn't turn the football over.
This is really the first time I've seen him live in a game situation, and man, he could sling it. Both kids can sling it. And back to Bentonville, special teams, man.
Yeah,
they do as good a job on kickoff. I thought that was a big difference in the Bryant game. Getting a turnover, put them in bad field positions all night. Jody and them are masters at that, and that'll be kind of watch that during the game. How's if it's going to be a field position game, boy, Bentonville, that's kind of their deal. If it's going to go back and forth, which both teams can go back and forth, they both can score. So be very interesting.
Well, it's always what you want to do. I mean, and you did this forever. You want a team to go 80 yards. I mean, you force the team to go the length of the field. Don't give them short field. Don't make mistakes in the kicking game. Don't give up the big plays. And that's what Bentonville's been doing for so long, going through Barry Lunny on his run, and obviously since Jody's taken over and the dominant run that they've had. I mean, they just don't beat themselves very often, and that's why they're always in the conversation for a conference championship, and they're always going to be in the conversation to win it all.
Do you pay attention to history? You know, in the past, a lot of times it's been who's lost the regular season game wins the state championship. And it's kind of role reversal here. So deja vu, maybe not. Who knows?
Hey, yeah, exactly right. I mean, because most of the time it was Bentonville beating Fayetteville in the regular season. All of a sudden, some miracles happen there at War Memorial. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I hate the cliche, throw it out the window when these two teams play, but that's really what's going to happen. Because I mean, you add the fact that it's a 3-hour drive to play for. It's on statewide television. The cameras are going to be in their face, and War Memorial is it's an odd place because the end zones are not, buildings. It's empty bleachers. Of course, I mean, with the weather that we're expected on Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 25, 30,000 if the fans come out for it, because it's going to be a heck of a ball game. And I think the state, Jeff, needed somebody else to be in the finals.
Yeah.
At the largest level, I'm not downplaying anything that Bryant's done, but I feel like the largest classification had gotten stale and everybody had gotten numb to Bryant's success. So I think it's good for Arkansas high school football that we've got some other teams, granted the teams that have been there the last couple of years anyway, but we got some other teams got a chance to win that trophy.
And some great matchups. Well, let's end with this one for Saturday night, 5A state championship. Parkview's pretty much dominated. Everybody stamped on them all year long. Beat Bryant earlier this year, just have dominated all the way through. Really hadn't played really a close game much all year. And then you got a Shiloh team that it's kind of flew underneath the radar. Went down to Little Rock Christian and beat those guys and got upset by Farmington, in mid-season, and everybody's kind of wrote them off. But man, they went to Valley View and won. I went to Pine Bluff, which I thought was going to be a very tough game. Ended up getting way behind and coming back at a Shiloh Christian team that's running the football and playing pretty well. But Parkview's been dominant, and that should be a big crowd because of the Little Rock area, obviously, and that part of it. But let's break that one down a little bit. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, let's start with Shiloh. I mean, I was probably as surprised as anybody to see them go to Pine Bluff and get down 20 points and to make that rally. And we were talking about the things you can't do to win football games, turn the football over, and Shiloh turned Pine Bluff over a handful of times. They're down 35-19. Next thing you look up, all of a sudden they're up 39-35, and they end up winning that one 49-41. It's just they rely so much on their defense to make big plays, and that's why what Coach Jeff Conaway was able to do, and now Tucker Bernard's come back, longtime Stillwater head coach, back-to-back state champions over there. But they rely on their defense so much to create things for their offense, and this is not the typical air raid that we used to see with Truett Tollett and those teams the last couple of years. It's all about Bo Williams in the run game. I mean, they will line up and just maul you. I think someone told me that one of the conference players of the year was one of the offensive linemen for Shiloh Christian. That kind of tells you what this team is all about. Because they're going to hand the ball off 40 times. They're going to try to shorten the game. They know they can't get into a track meet with Little Rock Parkview. The Patriots' offense is loaded. I mean, you mentioned they haven't been tested since week 1, week 2, whenever they played Bryant. I mean, you're talking about mercy rules in 10 straight games. And those guys just are so good and so talented, and the coaching staff for Parkview is second to none. I mean, obviously what Brad's been able to do there, Bobby running the defense, a longtime head coach at a few different stops, a state championship coach. And don't forget that those kids are pretty good too. I mean, they got a lot of talent. So you add all that together, and that's the reason Parkview may be considered the number one team, regardless of classification in Arkansas. But can they stop the run game of Bo Williams? And that's going to be step number one, because Shiloh's this is going to be the hammer and the anvil. They're just going to sit there and hit against them and hammer their head against the wall and see who breaks first.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting game. I think Shiloh's another one of them teams, kind of like Bentonville's got a little chip on the shoulder, and they've been kind of waiting around for this one, I think, for 365 days. They're going to get their opportunity.
Yeah.
See how it's going. Well, Bobby, who's all working with you Friday and Saturday? Where can everybody find the broadcast? I think it's a really cool thing. It's over statewide. I just I think it's just awesome. But
yeah, it's been a really good partnership. The 5 or 6 years that we've done, and obviously the last couple with me working on the AAA side of things, we've seen it grow. But Arkansas PBS going to be a statewide television live all across the board. So the 8-man game starting on Thursday night, the 2 games on Friday, the 2 on Saturday, and of course the 3A and 4A game coming up the following weekends. So anywhere in the state of Arkansas PBS, you can stream it online on Arkansas PBS's website as long as your internet's based in the state of Arkansas. If you live outside the state, you can watch it on the NFHS network for a small fee. But the normal crew, I mean, we've been really lucky to keep the main guys involved. We got Wes Moore, RJ Hawk, myself, Kyle Deckelbaum, a longtime KATV guy is going to be on the sideline for us. Doreen Kraft's going to be back on the sidelines as well. So we got a really good group of people that care about high school sports and really want to promote the sport in our great state.
Well, it's a great crew. It's a great show, and it's something I think everybody looks forward to every year. Well, Bobby, appreciate you having on. We'll have you on next week to break down. We got another week of it, man. Next week.
That's right. 3A and 4A coming up next week. It's a good talk to you, Coach.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. See you, Bobby.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, there's some great games, and Bobby broke them down. You know, when me and Daryl are going to break them down, and man, some matchups. You know, the Greenwood Christian game, the surprise really in 7A with Bentonville and Fayetteville, and then obviously in 5A can Parkview continue their dominance against a Shiloh team that's got a little chip on their shoulder, wants another piece of it. You got the boys down at Bigelow getting down and dirty. They've ran off 13 straight wins and lining up here for a state championship against DPC. And so, man, it's going to be a great atmosphere. Got first games on Friday at noon. The next ones are the 6A games at 6:30 on Friday. They're all on PBS, and then at noon and 6:30 also on Saturday, and they'll both be viewed on PBS. Well, let's do this. Let's bring in a longtime high school legend. He's working for the University of Missouri right now as an analyst. I think a lot of people go to him. He's played for 11 state championships in the state of Arkansas, 2 or 3 in Oklahoma, and I want to bring him in and talk to all the distractions that come with playing in the state championship that week. And if you're a young coach, you need to get your pencil and pad out, because I've got to experience it and going through it the first time. You can talk to people and everything, but you're not exactly prepared for all the things that are going to come at you. Well, let's go ahead and bring our BSN guest, Coach Rick Jones.
Coach, everybody knows who you are. You're from Missouri right now, but you're working for everybody. You're consulting. You're the guy that everybody goes to when they need information, because you've seen it and been through it all. But we appreciate you having you on. We're going to get into a topic here, and you're the guy. First guy I thought about it is. And if you're a young coach out there, you need to get your pad and pencil out, or pen or whatever, and take notes on this, because it's very important. Is the state championship week, getting prepared for that. Say, there's 2 games that are on Saturday. One's at noon and one's at 6:30. So number one, your guys are out of your routine. You've got an extra day of prep. Talk to our young coaches out there, or even some of our older coaches in our audience, about the first thing you do. Is, let's give an example. You've got a noon game on Saturday. What's your preparation look? Because you got an extra day. You've got people running at you. I want to cook you some extra meals and have a pep rally and do a bunch of extra things that are out of the routine. How did you deal with that? And if you were playing that noon game, what was your schedule? What was your schedule looking like?
Well, the thing we're about a three and a half hour bus ride from Greenwood to Little Rock, and so that's always an issue if you have the noon game, because we have the number one answer is you want to try to keep things exactly the same, and you can't do it exactly the same, but you'd have to make that week as much like the other 14 weeks or 13 weeks have been leading up to it. And I think that's the really important thing for me. It may not be, honestly. I mean, who really knows? But in my brain, we're going to try to keep the same routine. Now, when you play 7 o'clock games all year long. Then all of a sudden you're going to play at noon. There's several thoughts that go in there, but basically we're going to go from kickoff to arrive at the stadium and work our way back. And that always start with the end in mind. We want to be lined up, ready to play at noon. And then you have, like you said, you have the other things to think about, but it's going to be different. And I think the thing I tried to tell myself is that even though it's different, we're going to try to make it as exactly the same as possible. And so we sort of had a unique routine of traveling. When we first got, I coached in Oklahoma City and Tulsa for 25 years or whatever, and we didn't dress anywhere other than our own locker room maybe 5 times in 20 years. That's just the way it was. You just load your stuff up and drive across town and go play. But when you get to Greenwood and you got, you have some of these bus rides that are an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours or more, like you're going to El Dorado or something like that, it changes. We never did pregame meals. I mean, pregame meal, what? Pregame meal, what in the world are we going to do on the pregame meal? And so we did the right thing. We were going to give them a good pregame meal. And so we would go to one of those little steakhouses and we would get pasta, for energy and have that regular pregame meal. And I'd go in there with, you're in there with 80 people and you're on a schedule and you got to get to the stadium exactly 2 hours and 12 minutes before kickoff and blah, blah, blah. And the food's late. The kids don't eat the food. If you have a buffet line, all the Scooby-Doos are eating all the food and all the players aren't getting it. It's just, it's out of your control. I mean, the food's not ready. They don't like the food anyway. They don't eat it. And so we got to, and I know this has nothing to do with nutrition, but it had everything to do with my mindset. We started taking Chick-fil-A on the road. We would pull over at a park on the side of the road, and we would pass out chicken sandwiches. We'd eat our chicken sandwiches exactly 4 hours before we kick off, and they'd have their meal, but I controlled the time that way. We took the food with us. We get to the park, pull over, and I loved it. I mean, when we played up in Northwest Arkansas, there's a place up there by, what's that town? It's not Winslow, the one right past Winslow, but there's a beautiful park. You just take a couple turns and drive off 49 and sit there, and there's a stream rolling through, and it sort of calmed my nerves a little bit, to tell you the truth. And you're on your own time schedule, so we just got into that habit. I don't know if Chris is still doing it the same way, but the pregame meal was just, it would drive me crazy. I would want to be choking somebody before we were out of there. And but while it wasn't as nutritious as it should have been, the timing of it was probably good. I always felt like kids need to play. If you had to choose between being bloated or being hungry, I'd rather a kid be hungry when he walks out there anyway. We controlled the time so we get to the stadium at exactly the right time we wanted. And if you're playing on a Friday, I'm not going to take I'm not going to take 70 high school kids and managers and trainers and stay in a hotel the night before. So that meant that we probably had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd have a buddy system, so everybody calls everybody, and we'd meet at like 5 a.m., load the bus, take Chick-fil-A biscuits with us, and head to Little Rock. And then once we got to the stadium, people don't understand that the game's not the most important thing. The most important thing at the state championship game are pictures.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most important thing. So you have to have your slot where your team takes pictures, and if the other team's late, and I mean, it's just, it would drive me absolutely crazy. But the thing that we tried to emphasize to our kids is that, hey, that field war memorial is 100 yards long, 53 and third wide. It's the same. And once you kick it off, Jeff, you've been there. Once you kick it off, you're trying to figure out 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
It isn't that you you do things any differently than you're going to do. We try to do things exactly the same way. We kept the same routine that we had. If we're playing at home, we're playing on the road, we're playing state championship game, or we're playing the Wapanucka JV. We're going to try to stay in the same, keep the same schedule. There's the other side of it that, well, it's a special event. You need to make it special. Well, to me, special is when you carry that trophy off the field at the end. I probably don't have much patience with trying to make something that's already special. The special thing is what happens when you kick it off. And that's what I told the kids. We're kicking it off at noon. That's what's important. That's what we're going there for. The hoopla, the pictures are fine and dandy. You'll remember them when you're long gone. But we're going to play a great football game. We're going to be prepared to play. We're going to play the way that we play. We're going to keep the same routine. We'll have the same warm-up. We'll have the same, third and one's third and one. It's those decisions that you have to make. I remember we were playing Pulaski Academy in that shootout game, ended up 56-55, I think. It was like a 4-hour-long high school football game. We played forever. I think we snapped it somewhere like 85 times, and I think PA snapped it around 96 or something like that. I mean, there's a ton of football plays. And I remember we had played 11 up, which means basically we're either going to sack them or they're going to score, and they scored. And Kevin went for 2 to try to go up 9. And I told her, not a genius coaching move. I just said, hey, fellas, you stop them here, we got a chance. You stop them here, we got a chance. And we stopped them on the 2-point play, so they're up 7. And then we had like a minute 6. And I'll never forget, Tyler Wilson comes up to me, just like you and I are talking this morning, and he said, what are you going to call? That's all he said. What are you going to call? Well, he said, what's the call? He said, what's the call? I said, we're going to double 66. He said, okay. And that was that. And I read several years later, I read a sentence that has stuck in my brain forever, and that is, do not concern yourself with the circumstance, concern yourself with execution.
Yeah.
And that's really what Tyler was doing. He was telling me, instead of saying, Tyler, you got a minute 6 seconds, this is for the state championship game, we got to get over what? Tyler. All Tyler wanted was, he wanted the call. He said, Coach, give me the call. I said, we're going to double 66. That's our big drag concept. And we had run it, I think, 9 times that day. We had thrown it to 5 different receivers. And he comes up and he throws a corner route to the single side and made a beautiful throw, beautiful catch. We scored in like 3 plays, went for 2 and 1, and, there we go. But you focus on execution, not on the circumstances. It doesn't matter if it's state championship game or like I say, the Wapanucka JV. It's the same. It's the same. Focus on that. And Tyler, in his own way, all he was thinking about was the execution of the play. He wasn't thinking about circumstances. He wasn't thinking about, oh, my goodness, if I throw a pick, it's over, blah, blah, blah. It's just focus on it. That was just such a great lesson. But that's the thing about playing in that game is that once they kick it off, it's just football. Yeah. It's like people have asked me, what's it like? I've been so blessed. I've had the best seat in the house for the last 4 years at the University of Missouri. I stay 10 feet from the coach from Coach Drinkwitz because I have the analytics book and I need to be close to him. And I sit there and I watch those guys from the sideline. I've had the best seat in the house for 4 years. To go sit in the stands is sort of it'd be hard to get used to. But even there, even at that level, the first game Coach's first game was against Nick Saban.
Yeah.
At Mizzou. I mean, you walk out there and there's Coach Saban, on the 50-yard line with a scowl on his face, and you're looking at all those guys down there at Alabama, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. But they kick it off. It's just football. It's football. They're really good. It's really good football, but it's just football. You're trying to make 10 yards. That's the thing. You're trying to make 10 yards. You're trying to keep the other team from making 10 yards. In the state championship games, exactly the same way. Don't worry about the circumstances. Worry about execution. And we would back up. If we're playing on Saturday morning, our normal routine at Greenwood was to come. We changed this about halfway through that 16 years there, where we started meeting on Sunday afternoon instead of Saturday morning, and our kids loved it. They loved it. And I talked to every youth minister in the entire town. That's one thing about being a small town. And I said, hey, from 2 to 4 on Sundays, would we conflict with anything that you're doing? And we only had our LDS kids. We had about 3 or 4 LDS kids, and they were no-go. They were no-go on Sundays. And I understood that 100%. We worked it out. But for the rest of our guys, they loved having Saturdays off where they could get up and go duck hunting or go to the Razorback game or deer hunting or just, lay around and take it easy, then come in on Sunday at 2 p.m. And so if we were playing on Saturday, we would in most cases, we'd give them that Sunday off. And then Monday would be Sunday. Okay. And it's so weird. You know how coaches are. And everybody that's a coach knows exactly what I'm talking about. We just played on Friday. Everything just backed up. You just back it up. And they'd say, what day is it? You say, I don't know. I don't know what day. It's Tuesday practice, so that means it's Monday. But we would just back it up. If we're going to play, if we're going to play on a Saturday, I'd give them off that day. And then we'd come in on Monday, Sunday, Tuesdays, Monday, and we just go from there. So that everything stayed exactly the same. We had a great routine there. I inherited it from Ronnie Peacock. Ronnie always did what we called theme on Thursday. On Thursday night, Thursday after practice, we'd have study hall if everybody didn't have a 3-point. After practice, they'd have to go to study hall, or they had time to just chill out. And our kids hated study hall. They hated study hall because all their buddies are out running around having a good time. They're in study hall. And that was a good inducement for those guys to get that 3-point. And once they got the 3-point, if they could show me they had 3-point, they were out of study hall. And I think the last year we were there, we ended up with like 12 permanent members of study hall, which is pretty incredible when you consider we had 96 kids on the team. Our kids did a great job academically, but they did not like doing study hall. So we'd do study hall. Then we'd either have a team dinner or a squad dinner on Thursday, or a unit dinner. And a team dinner would be at a church. It would be voluntary, where a church would feed us, and we would have a spiritual message. That's why it was voluntary. And then the other Thursdays, we'd have a squad meeting, and we would divide our team up into 8 squads, so that and it would be just a mix of young and old, offense, defense, whatever. And they'd go to one of their squad members' house and have dinner. And then after dinner, we'd sit in a circle and we would do what we call questions. And we would just have life questions. Describe your favorite moment. Describe the best day you ever spent with your dad, or describe your best childhood. Just things like that, just so that kids could talk and get to know each other. And other times we'd have a unit meeting where we'd meet by position. And that was a Thursday night thing. And then Thursday evening, if we played 9th grade at home, we would have theme, what we called theme, after the 9th grade game. And I would assign every coach 2 nights for theme. And it was their job to present us a motivational message, whatever it was. It might be former players coming back to talk to us. It might be some film clips and a motivational video. It'd take about 15, 20 minutes. And our kids love theme. They love theme night. So if we were playing on Saturday, we'd have theme night on Friday, and everything would be exactly the same. And we'd get up at 5 o'clock. That's not great, but it's better than taking 90 people on the road in a hotel. And we'd load the buses with our Chick-fil-A biscuits, and we would head to Little Rock and then try to get the game 2 hours and 20 minutes or so before kickoff and roll it from there.
Well, let me ask you something. And me and you've talked about this a bunch because I did the spend the night thing once, and I'll never do it again. I tell people that's just me. And and me and you've talked about this. Getting them up at 5, getting them on a bus, they're driving 2.5 hours easy.
Yeah.
And they kids adjust to things. Did you ever feel like, hey, we're not awake here at the beginning of this deal? I mean, I know it's state championship game, but your body. We talked about being in a consistent. Hey, we practice at 2:30. We're warming up here. The body gets conditioned that way.
Yeah.
Even if you spend the night, you're still getting up and you're still playing at a weird time. Did you ever go into it going, I don't know if we're awake?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't think we played nearly as well in the noon games as we played in the Friday night games or the Saturday night games. I don't think we ever played as well, but I weigh that against taking 80 people on the road, putting them in hotels, getting food and all that. And I just thought that our best chance, the best we could be prepared was to do it that way. You know, we encourage our kids, go to bed early. You know, how in the world do you sleep the night before a state championship game anyway? I mean, if you can sleep, good luck to you. God bless you. But, you know, the kids are going to be fired up. The town's fired up. Mom and dad are fired up. They're going to have, they'll have people literally lining the interstate all the way to Little Rock, with, you know, waving pom-poms and stuff at overpasses and things. I mean, how could you do it? For the most part, kids get in there, go to sleep. We wake them up, give them their biscuits, give them their Chick-fil-A biscuits, and then head on. And for the most part, they're going to sleep anyway. I don't think we played our best with that, but I think it's better than it would have been had we done the hotel thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've done both ways, and I'm for loading them up and headed down.
If Jeff, if like, you know, it's Fayetteville or somewhere that's a little bit further, that's a little bit tougher deal, I think. I talked to Daryl Patton about it, and I think it was Daryl. I'm pretty sure it was Daryl. He loved spending the night. He loved that, getting away and being apart from everybody else, but we could not keep, you know, it would be hard to do a theme. We could do it, but it'd just be so different.
Yeah.
And I did the 5 a.m. deal. Buddy called, make sure everybody's up, and let's roll. But they knew, now they did know that at 5 a.m. the wheels were rolling. So they might have to catch a ride with Aunt Susie, but they knew the buses were going to roll at 5 a.m. if I said 5 a.m. So that's sort of the way that thing went.
I understand. Well, let me ask you about this too, because right now, as we speak, the first day I don't think they drive down to the big press conference. It's more on Zoom and the information.
Yeah.
As a head football coach, you're probably sitting there with your superintendent, a lot with your principal, and especially your athletic director. You're getting hit right now. These guys are getting hit with, all right, pre-T-shirt sales, pre-ticket sales. Your booster club presidents wants 6 parades and a school dance going on, to celebrate. How do you control? I always tried to say, went through it. If it didn't have anything to do with winning or losing, I delegated that thing somewhere else with the athletic director and principal. How did you absorb all that? And the other part is you want to protect your assistants and not have them lose focus on what they have to do as far as, was getting prepared for the game. How did you deal with all the interviews and all that kind of stuff? How did you deal with that distraction and stay focused?
Well, I think you're exactly right, is that I was just going to be a hardhead, to be honest. I don't know how it is now, but like you say, in the old days, you would take 2 players, your AD, maybe your soup, and then hop in the car and drive to War Memorial and do the press conference and all that. I got to where I didn't take kids. I just didn't take kids. I'm sorry, we're just not going to do that. And part of the deal is, if we were in Little Rock, that would be one thing. But to drive a kid 3.5 hours on I think it's Monday, we'd do that. Drive a kid 3.5 hours, 3.5 hours, and then come back. And I got to the point where I just said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm sorry. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. And this is what I tried to do as a head coach once I got more mature in the job, is that, does it affect winning and losing? And if it doesn't, okay. Water off the duck's back, it's fine. We'll do it. If it does, then I'm going to be hard-headed. We're not going to do it. And our staff wasn't going to do any of it. They weren't going to do any of it. We were going to we always had a parade in Greenwood. I called it the Victory Parade. on the Monday after the state championship game. For whatever reason, the Greenwood Christmas parade is that Monday right after the deal. We call it a victory parade. On the times we didn't win it, it was called worse things. But it was always a pain in the backside. But that was after the game, win or lose. We had to figure out, somebody had to get. We'd have to get 3 or 4 trailers, and we'd have to have their jerseys on them, and you're not really. That's really not about it. But once the parade started, it was awesome. I mean, Greenwood is such a fantastic town, and they love their team so much. They love their teams so much. All Greenwood, they just want to be good at everything. They want their band to be good. They obviously academics, things like that. So it was always fun once the parade got started, but it was not all that much fun. On Monday after the state championship game, getting jerseys on all the kids and getting a trailer for them to ride on and things like that. But if it matters, winning and losing, I was going to be a hard head. If it didn't, I was going to just let it roll. Let's have fun. Fun is part of it, and I get that. I would like to think our kids had a good experience, but the experience was the game. It wasn't all the hoopla before. I don't think any kid's going to go 20 years at their 20-year reunion, come back and say, it was so much fun taking pictures before the state championship game. Now, they might say it was so fun watching Coach Jones go crazy taking pictures before the state championship game. But I think, you sort of sum up the whole thing. Does it matter? And if it doesn't, let it go. Have fun. You only go through once, and for the most part, when we first started as a head coach in Oklahoma, we went to the state championship game the second year we were head coach there when we were at Edmond, and got smoked and got beat by a Lawton team that had Will Shields and Duell Brewer and Kelly Stinnett. I mean, they had James Tramp. They had 4 guys. 3 guys played in the NFL. 1 guy played Major League Baseball for about 15 years. They were pretty good. And you ride that bus back home after getting spanked, and you're like, well, that's that. I'll never be back. And then 2 years later, we go back and win it. Had a great group of guys. And you're on the bus, you say, well, that's that. We're going to do this every year. It's never going to happen. Then 13 years later, you find yourself finally back. And that's sort of the way it is. But we were, so fortunate at Greenwood. We sort of, they call that Smith Robinson East. At War Memorial, Smith Robinson East. And we had a great run of kids. Obviously, we got to do it. But every year is its own year. But being there over, several times, you sort of get used to, okay, we're not going to do this, we're going to do that. And you sort of adjust it from there if you get that opportunity. I've said in Hall of Fame ceremonies where these legendary coaches are getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they coached for 34 years, and they went to state championship in 1962. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, we're so lucky. We're so lucky to have a chance to coach in that game. And it's an awesome experience. I love the day game. I love the day game, even though I didn't think we played as well as maybe we could have, but I love the day game. And the Friday game's awesome. The Friday night game's awesome too, because it's just like a normal week. And you don't have all that issues. The Saturday game, it just seems like it takes forever to get there. It takes forever to get there. And at that point in time, you just want to play it and go. Let's go. Kids are ready to roll. Let's roll.
Well, let me leave you with last question. I'll get you off here. I know you're busy. And this is something I struggle with, and it's just a philosophy. I don't know where it came from, but how did you, and we've kind of hit on a little bit, and I always say I want to make it enjoyable for the kids, but stay focused on winning. And I hate to say this, and I was an old school guy. If we were having fun, it probably wasn't the right thing. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense to you at all? But how'd you try to do some things to make it enjoyable for your kids, but the focus was on the games? And we hit a little bit about that, but there's a fine balance. But I had a hard time with that. I was more, was the game, and everything else was a distraction. And especially when I was younger, got better when I got older. But how did you deal with that? You went to 11 of them just in the state of Arkansas, and a few in Oklahoma. So you've been there and know how it's. And everything I always hear was from coaches is, I wish I'd enjoyed it a little bit more on the ride there. To me, that's hard to do, but you did that with the kids, and during that week and during that time. What was your philosophy on that?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think there's two things that stand out. I remember one time, and I think it was the first time we were in the state championship game. It might have been the second time in Oklahoma. I'm standing there with Pat Jones, the head coach of Oklahoma State. And at Oklahoma State, they had a cool deal. We played state championship games there, and they had a box at the top of the stadium that probably sat 400 people, and they let all the coaches sit in that box and watch all the games. And when you weren't playing in the game, I loved to go to the box and hobnob with my buddies and watch the games and all that. And I remember standing there, and I'm talking to Pat Jones, and I love Pat Jones. He's one of the best ever. And I look up, and we're getting ready to start warm-ups, and I look up there, and I said, man, I wish I was up there. And Pat Jones said several choice words to me. He said, what in the world are you thinking? Everybody in that room up there would give anything to be in your shoes. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was worried about how we're going to play, how's it going to go. This is for in Oklahoma, it's the gold ball. You want the gold ball because the trophy was a gold ball that you want, and you're so just tense and tight. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'd like to just sit up there and watch it all happen up there and take it easy. And Pat, it was like a kick in the gut. I'll never forget Coach Jones saying that to me. He said, Coach, every coach in that room wants to be where you are. And I thought, you're exactly right. And the other thing that hit me, and this is all after the fact, of course. Yeah. But the other thing that hit me is I saw a picture of myself when Kevin, my son, was one of our ball boys. And he's sitting there, and we're getting ready to go out. We're in the tunnel. There's a picture of us in the tunnel, and I look like the most miserable human on the face of the earth. And Kevin has a big smile on his face, and he's throwing the ball up and down because he was never still. He's throwing the ball, kicking the ball, doing something, and he's the happiest kid in the world. And I'm sitting there looking like the worst. I've received the worst news in my life, and I was thinking I should have enjoyed that more, but that's not my nature.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a lot of people's nature. I enjoy it now.
Yeah.
I look back at those times, and I think about, Nathan Staten catching the ball and Tyler Wilson throwing the ball and all those great guys, Peyton Holt, and those guys making plays and the great memories and all that. And I'd say it's easy to say, yeah, if I do it again, I'd enjoy it more. But I doubt if I would, because we're competitive nature. We have a competitive nature. We want to play great. It's not a matter of winning. It's just playing great. You want to go out there and play great. This is the biggest stage you'll ever be on as a football coach. You want to go out there and play great. And I don't know that it's a whole lot different for any coach anywhere at any level when you're playing for stakes, when there's something involved, when you care about it, you love it, and there's passion to it. I honestly, no, I did not enjoy it. Once they kicked it off, I was okay.
Yeah.
I did not necessarily enjoy all of it building up. You get up on Friday morning, Jeff, you know how it is. You get up Friday morning and your stomach's in knots, and Fridays are miserable. Miserable. It was so bad, I went to our pastor there in Greenwood, and I said, Brother Ronnie, I said, what's wrong with me? Why can I not just enjoy it and, take a deep breath? And he said, you are a competitive person. That's not the way competitive people deal with it. And some people deal with it differently than others. But the thing that I felt I was lucky is that once they kicked it off, once I got out of the circumstances and into the execution, it was, what do we need to do to win? Do we need to let them score? Do we need to go for it here? Do we need to kick it, or do we need to go? And all those. Once you're in that, it was fine. It was fine. I didn't have very in 31 years of being a head coach, very seldom would I ever be stuck mentally. I mean, we were laser beam focused, and I think that's it. Oh yeah, I wish I'd enjoyed it more. I don't know. This is what I told our kids. And I told them this when we met, whatever that first day was before state championship week preparation. I'd say, men, there's going to be a lot of hoopla. There's going to be pep rallies. There's going to be this. There's going to be this, that. The only thing that you are going to really care about is what happens when we kick that ball off.
Yeah.
And if you take care of that, the memories are going to be fantastic. And the truth is that if we don't take care of that, it's not going to be that great. I mean, the experience looking back, we went up there in 2004 and played Wynn. First year we were at Greenwood. And that might be the best kids we ever had. And they hated losing so much. If any team deserved to win, they deserved to win. And we let Wynn score. We were down 1, let them score, came back, go bang, 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 touchdown, go for 2 and don't get it. That's when Daniel Stegall was was our quarterback. And those kids, I mean, as miserable as we were about losing, I felt worse for those kids than any group I've ever felt for, because they deserved it. They were an unbelievable group of kids, and they deserved it. But, man, they fought. And as a coach, when you fight and you play the best you can, you let the chips fall. You sort of deal with it. But I love that group of kids, and I'll never forget it. And really, every trophy I think that Greenwood wins after 2004, we could chalk it right up to those guys. I was curious about Bray. We lost a lot of games at Greenwood, but we only got beat one time. And I think Bray was on that team.
Yeah, he was, buddy.
I'm telling you, those boys, they pounded us. As a coach, I've never been in a game where I just said, and I'm an Oklahoma guy, and I didn't even know what the mercy rule was. From that point on, the mercy rule is the greatest thing ever. I love the mercy rule because that was literally what it was. Running that clock when we were playing those guys, it is funny. Spencer Harris, our wide receiver, went and played at Illinois, played 4 years at Illinois, had a great career up there. I was talking to Spencer several years ago, and he said, Coach, I never got hit in the Big Ten like I got hit the night when we played Springdale Harbor. They were so doggone physical. I forgot the name of that safety, but that safety just gutted.
Pruitt.
Just gutted.
Yes.
Spencer, it was brutal. But was Bray on that? Was that?
Yeah, Bray's on that team, Coach. Yeah, I participated against those guys.
My gosh.
Matter of fact, Coach, I got to participate against those guys twice that year, I believe. We got them in the regular season. They beat us in overtime at their place. And then, of course, Bray reminds me, has a picture here in the studio of when they beat us in the state finals that year also. And great story on that one was Keith Fimple. We're going down there. We played them, in overtime the first time. And he goes, the quarterback's got to beat us. That's the quarterback. And after the first quarter, I think the quarterback threw 220 yards and rushed for about 130. And I walked down there and I said, hey, Fimp, quarterback's beating us. And he looked at me in disgust and goes, yeah, I'm watching the same game. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you on later on for a big exclusive because your career and everybody comes to you and just I love visiting with you. You're a ball guy, and that's what our show's about. And man, I appreciate you coming on. I hope everybody, I'm telling you, that's what you just went over, you have to experience. But if you just go in there blind, Neil, it could drive you crazy and lose focus on what really matters.
Yeah, I think as much as anything, Jeff, I was so lucky. I mean, I'm a blind hog finding an acorn. I mean, I'm just so lucky. I got to coach great kids. I think this year's, and I've sort of been in and out this year, but it's like 46 years. And I think back to all the great kids and all the great coaches and all the great stories. And I feel like I'm one of the most blessed people ever. I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky to get to be with great guys. And that's the thing about Mizzou. In the 4 years I've been there, those kids are awesome kids. And I know they are everywhere. But I love those kids. The coaches are fantastic group of guys, and the sport of football is I feel lucky to be a coach.
Yeah, it's in a good spot, and I tell you what, football is the greatest team sport, greatest sport there is. I mean, just on you can be big, you can be small, you can be slow, and you can be fast, and there's a spot for you somewhere. And everything. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on.
Jeff.
We're going to have you on later on. We're fixing to get back in some Joe Rogan exclusive interviews, and you're on our.
There you go. All right, I'm ready to roll.
All right, see you, Rick. Take care, buddy.
Bye.
Man, we're going to have Coach Jones. Was that not an amazing segment? Just to listen to all the knowledge that that guy can remember anything, and the preparation and the little nuggets that you get from every time you talk to him. We'll have him on again for obviously a big interview, because he's a guy I think that's just a guy that you can absorb and learn so much from.
No doubt.
Well, let's get into our picks. Let's get to our high school picks. Let's go ahead and bring him on, Coach Daryl Fimple.
We're state championship week right here, buddy.
Man, big time. Big time right here.
The AAA's really excited because we're going to have some big crowds. They're going to be able to benefit from this. These
Oh gosh, yeah. It's PBS. It's going to be online.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to have it on, watching it at home. Yeah. This is great. This is the time of the year, I think, if I was a head football coach, playing the state finals, I'd send every kid home with their jersey. And they'd have to, before they went to bed, they'd have to take a picture sleeping in their jersey at night.
That's what
you gotta make this thing special. This might be the last time you wear that Rivercrest Coats, uniform right here, man. You're gonna wear 24 hours a day for the next 3 days, getting ready for this one.
Staying focused. For 24
Locked in, baby.
Locked in. Well, let's start off with this. Let's go ahead and get to. We have top 5 this week.
Top 5, man, is not changing around here too much, but man, we had some people drop out of the old top 5. That's what happens when you get beat like that. So we got the bottom half there. You still got Parkview rocking and rolling along at number 1, trying to make history. Like I said last week, the Boldens, they want to be number 1 overall. That would be something that they didn't, get a full chance of that when they won it last year. So, they want to be that top ranked team, and they've done some amazing things there. So Parkview's still number 1 in my book. And then of course I'm going to go with Bentonville at 2. Yeah. Bentonville jumps up there and takes Fayetteville's spot. Fayetteville drops down to 3. Of course, that's going to be, coming out here pretty soon. And then we've got Greenwood at our 4th spot and our 5th spot. You got to think, man, but just think about this. Now, Bryant's not in there. Sorry, he got beat. Bryant's not in there. Conway still ain't figured out what that was about, but you're not in there. So who we got left there? Who's in that 5th hole, you think?
Well, I'm going to have to go.
I'll tell you who it is. It's the Prescott Curlywoods is number 5. Taking those guys right now, they're figuring out a way to win. I'll tell you who it is. It's number 5 is the Prescott Curlywoods.
Oh.
We jumped right out of the small schools and just said, come on, let's go with it. Let's go with the Prescott Curlywoods.
We won't fake it.
Yeah. Them guys they're on a path right here, man. They're on a path to do some things. Of course, every time I jump on somebody, I get a little scared there. But I like them Curlywoods, that 5 spot.
Curlywoods tough. Let's get into the semifinal games. We got semifinal games in 4A and 3A. Let's start in 3A here. And let's kind of recap a little bit on last week. We'll start in 7A.
Wow.
And Jody Grant came on here at the beginning of the summer and said, as a conference, we got to figure something out. And
Yeah.
they figured it out.
Yeah, I think they did.
You got to give the Bentonville and Fayetteville a lot of credit. First time we've had an all West state championship, probably 10 years.
Well, and also too is if you look at how both of them, Fayetteville, I thought ran the football really, really well.
Yes, sir.
The Setzler kid, they got in the secondary a couple times, and that kind of ran the clock a little bit. And I'm going to tell you right now, Bentonville had a drive in the fourth quarter where I think everybody and their mom got crushed. I mean, and Jody and them, they were over there hooping and hollering, and the fist pumps were going because, they knew right then they had them on skates. And, I'm talking about they delivered a statement, I think, right there in that game. They were physical up front, and, that's what Benton – and, if you look at the previous, Bryant's last loss was in 2018 in North Little Rock, who was extremely physical.
Yeah.
That was when Coach Mitchell was – literally, they were hitting every day. I guess he can't get in trouble. He's not in the state anymore. But those guys were tackling to the ground every day in the whole 9 yards. So it was a really physical. And you look at Bryant, the last, the last 5 they've won. They've been so physical. So physical. And I think Bentonville and Fayetteville both showed a lot of physicality.
I think they did, no doubt about it. And then you get into 6A Little Rock Christian. Going to Benton, who's dominated the 6A East and took care of business there on a great ball game, back and forth. The quarterback.
Well, the quarterback's phenomenal. Once again, I don't know what we're thinking on that guy. That kid can pass, run it, the whole 9 yards, his whole family. Somebody was telling me today the backup quarterback's his little brother. Like there's another one.
Wow.
So I'm thinking that is, it's a statement. Because he when you get big time Power 5 kids, this is the time of the year they can carry you.
Yeah.
And people in football go, well, there's 11 others. I'm telling you, those guys are a little different. If you're a freak, you're a freak. And it just showed this week.
Yeah. And then you get, Shiloh goes down to Pine Bluff, gets behind, comes back, really ran the football well against those guys.
Hey, that guy, I don't know, and I'm a big Mizzou fan, but that might be the next Cody. The Bo Williams kid, it can play. The guy carried it 42 times against Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff helped, shot themselves in the foot. Bless their hearts. They turned it over 5 times, but Shiloh took advantage of every one of them. And that little guy can play. Somebody's getting a steal on that guy.
No doubt. Then you got Bo down at Warren taking care of Ozark. And
Bo's just being Bo. Bo's being Bo.
That's where he's always
semifinals. What was it? Semifinals the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Bo's just he's built for this game. A community like that too. Once again, I think if I was a college coach, I would just go, hey, has Warren got any wide receivers this week? Because that's where I would go. I just go pluck them. This guy doesn't even play. He's a 7th grader, but he's a wide receiver at Warren. It's just and they're starting to play defense. Which is pretty scary too. It's a good time of year to start doing a little bit of that. And the freshman quarterback's growing up. I think he's figured out he's got a lot of grown men to throw it to. But man, they're on a roll too.
Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and get in our picks. Let's start in 3A. Your boys, number 5, Prescott Curlywoods.
Curlywoods, baby.
Head over to Mansfield. Mansfield, big win over Salem last week.
Let's check out this stat for you about my Prescott Curlywoods. 10 wins in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. So
10 a year. Those dudes are at 100. They're at 100 wins the last 10 years. They do nothing but win down there.
Oh, me. Well, Grandma Na is going to take Prescott. The Mouth is going to take Mansfield. Coach Williams is going to take Prescott. Break it down.
Mansfield, the quarterback last week, the Strozer kid, he rushed for 2 TDs. He threw for 1. They like to run it. They went to Salem and knocked off our Salem.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Salem went down. They had 2 running backs. Tyler Turnipseed is over 905 yards, 11 TDs. The Burton kid's over 1,300 yards, 18 TDs for Mansfield. So they like to run the football. All right. Prescott can kind of do both of them. A big weight room guy. Mansfield, just a couple years ago, their coach was talking about only having like 2 kids that, were in the 1,000-pound club, and he's up to 6 or 8. So they've they've gotten in the weight room a little bit here. That's why if you watched last week, it was just ground and pound both sides into submission, and Mansfield held on for the win. Prescott's doing it several different ways. They had Genoa Harris rush for 194 yards last week and a touchdown. Pierre Yates is their quarterback. He went 12 of 19 for 219 yards and 3 TDs. He threw to 3 touchdowns to 3 different people. So they're doing it both ways. I think what sets Prescott apart, though, here, Mansfield got off to a great start and then got humbled there by Charleston. And then since then they, started rolling them off again. Prescott's Talon Smith is their linebacker. He has 117 tackles, and they have Jamarian Burton, who's a defensive end who has 13 sacks on the year. They had a big, huge interception pick last week. The Prater kid picked off 2, returned one of them 55 yards for a pick 6. So they are rolling. Prescott is rolling. It's playoff time. I'm going to take Prescott in this one.
I got you. So you're taking Prescott. Okay. Let's go over here to Western Arkansas. You got Glen Rose, who just dominated Junction City. Keener's got them rolling. I may put it on. And then you got Boonville. At Boonville, hey, they're supposed to state championships, and that's what they do.
Boonville just does what Boonville does.
They do what they do. Not a lot of flash. We're just going to go down here and ram it down your throat. That's what we do. And then we're going to play defense. And so the mouth's going to take Boonville. I'm taking Boonville. Grandma Na's taking Boonville.
Boonville's kind of old school because I think Boonville's defense is phenomenal. Their offense don't turn the ball over. They sustain drives for long periods of time. Here's the other thing about Boonville. I don't know who their punter is, but I'm sure he's a weapon because I think Boonville's built on, hey, look, man, we're going to have a great punter. We're going to get good field position. We're going to pin you back there, and then we're going to pound you until the fourth quarter arrives. Glen Rose didn't know the story. Didn't know the dad hired the son.
Oh, yeah.
OC kind of caught some heat over that. And, of course, this son has proven them right because Glen Rose on defense has given up 11.4 points a game. They've won 11 straight games, got off to a rough start. Of course, they played Malvern. Yeah. I don't know why we had Malvern on the schedule. Big rivalry there, right? Yeah, Coach Plumley come over and took the rivalry the wrong way because they put a pounding on us. But they won 11 straight wins there. They have 2 playoff wins. The first 2 playoff wins, they won 88-0. They beat Junction last week 50-12. So in the playoffs, they are outscoring people 138-12. All right, and you remember what we like.
Like a defense.
We like our defense over there. So I'm going to stick. I'm a big Boonville fan too, so this has been a tough one on me all day long. So I'm going to go with the Glen Rose in this one.
Go with
Glen Rose wins this one.
Well, you talk about physical.
Oh my God! Hey, they had 2 running backs last week. Listen to this: the Balance kid had 24 carries for 169 yards, and the Franks kid had 21 carries for 144 yards. That's 45 run plays. 45 run plays they did. Yeah, 45 runs that Glen Rose threw out there. So but this game is going to be like a 28-21 slobber knocker.
Oh, is what this is going to be. You better take 2 mouthpieces.
Yes.
Take 2 mouthpieces.
A couple blood jerseys. You got to carry the blood jerseys.
Exactly. Well, let's go over to God's country. We got Uncle Bo, Northern Lumberjacks, who took care of Coach Burns and Ozark Hillbillies pretty good last week, and headed over to Rivercrest. These guys matched up a couple of years ago. Uncle Bo got out there with a win. Rivercrest was rolling, went to Arkadelphia and just said, hey, 5 decades, man, 5 decades.
Past the Colts, man. The Colts took 1 cheerleading bus, little one, and they had 2 big buses right behind them going that way. That's the way to travel on the old interstate.
Well, the question is, did they have a trailer with the Colt in the back?
I think they actually had a box truck that was coming back there behind there. We do things big at Rivercrest, but
that's where he was. I guarantee it. All right. The Mouth's going to take Warren. Grandma Na is taking Rivercrest. Coach Williams is going to take Warren just on the fact he's been there. Uncle Bo knows how to get to the rock. But Rivercrest, this ought to be a heck of a ball game.
Yes, I think so. I think both of these guys want to play each other. I think it's one of those that to beat the man, you must, to be the man, you must beat the man thing. 11th semifinal for our guy, Bo. Jackson Denton's our quarterback, freshman. He was 9 of his first 9 last week for 238 and 4 touchdowns. He was on fire. And so then Bo let him throw it 2 more times. He ended up going 11 of 13 for 250 and 4 touchdowns. Traylon Jackson ran the ball for him last week, 14 carries for 95 yards. And then Antonio Jordan, their wide receiver, had 6 catches for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know, Ozark had one big drive there, big 10-play drive that you thought would get them some momentum. And then Warren just comes back and answers again. Rivercrest, running back Kobe Turner, had 32 carries for 170 yards and 3 TDs. He was the Colt of the game. I wonder if they have that. I don't know. That's awesome. Coach Fleming, he said he was really impressed with his defense. He thought his defense last week played lights out. All right, so I think the coach, you know, they might have a little plan here for Bo. You know, like Bo hadn't seen the plan before, though. You know, there might be too many guys for the plan, though. Rivercrest has this one. Rivercrest gets them at home, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Warren's got to do a little travel.
Yeah.
See how they travel. Warren does. I bet you they travel nice. I ain't going to lie to you. I bet you Bo's got some plan. Got a couple charters lined up. He's getting out of Pine Bluff on this one, maybe. But I think that, like you said, I think they're going to travel over to Rivercrest. I think it's going to be a great game. Of course, most of our playoff games are, but I think Warren's kids being there, Bo being in the big setting here, I'm going to take Warren in a close one. I mean, this is going to be a close one. It would surprise me. I think Rivercrest can run the football enough to keep them off the field and maybe play in the short field too. The big turnovers here. It's playoff football too. You got to watch the big turnovers too. Big turnovers.
And special teams, buddy.
And special teams. That cost somebody we know last week. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so I'm taking the Warren Lumberjacks in this one.
Warren Lumberjacks. All right.
And I love Rivercrest. I love those guys. They like to actually shoot out for us. They kind of like us.
Football tradition, everything. And this could go either way. All right. I think this might be the game of the night. And we've been kind of waiting on this.
Man.
Harding Academy.
Man, this is
crazy. Watson over at Elkins.
Wow.
Academy's just dominated all the way through all year long. So has Zach and the Elkins have just dominated. And now they've got to meet together. You hate that, you know, but it's time. We got to play here. And Harding had been on the road. Everything. The Mouth's going to take Harding Academy. Grandma Knott is going to take Elkins. I'm going to take Elkins. I don't. I'm going to take Elkins.
Does Harding go to Elkins?
Yes, they do, buddy.
Ooh.
I get this.
That's nice.
Hey, it's kind of cold up here too, buddy.
It's getting cold up there. And the Chairs guy, Deshaun Chairs, is not scared of the cold, is what I'm hearing. The Elks are saying, the Elk Kickers. Last week, the Elkins beat CAC 53-15. They might still be beating them. It was a bad one. Elkins, the 10th game, they scored 50 or more points. You just get that? They're over almost 600 points scored this year. All right, Deshaun Chairs has 20 touchdowns in his last 4 games. All right, he has rushed it 129 times he's rushed 129 for 1348 and 36 touchdowns. Good God Almighty! Guys, Slade Dizzy Dean has thrown 150 150 out of 234 for 2,300 and 32 touchdowns. He's thrown it. Yeah. The Elkins scoring offense is 55 points a game. They're giving up 8. All right, so they're playing defense too. They got Landon Neal over there with 9 sacks. James Townsend has 7 interceptions. Elijah Majah has 5 interceptions. That's 12 on the back end of this thing. And Harding Academy, hey, you know what we do. I mean, we got 17 people we throw it to over there. Owen Miller's he's something else. It's hard to get to him. His offensive line is really, really good. They know how to win. Owen's thrown for 36 touchdowns this year, over almost 3,000 yards passing on the year. I think this one is tough. This one is like you want to talk about all the time, people talking about looking at brackets and going, hey, yeah, you got to beat them all, though. You got to beat somebody. They don't just give you the trophy over there. But I think this one, there's just too much momentum, and I think Elkins has got something to prove. And I think they're the new kid on the block.
Oh.
I think they're the new kid on the block.
Oh.
I think we're going to be talking about Elkins a little while until somebody steals Zach. which could possibly happen. That's what happens in the playoffs too. Sometimes your coach wins too much and you lose them. They come and steal them. They come stealing from you. That's what happens here. So I'm going to take Elkins at home over Hardin Academy, and you want to talk about a fireworks show.
Oh,
this one could be like, and last time we said that, remember what happened? Southside, we thought, hey, it's going to be a 70 and whatever game, but I think Elkins is too much. I think they've got a great plan. They got all kinds of weapons too. I would hate to be a defensive coordinator for either team. Those I would just, hey, if this doesn't work out, I might just find something else to do. This guy's going to be miserable. This guy's going to be miserable. So we're taking Elkins in that one.
Elkins. Oh, man. I thought I'd stump you with that a little bit. All right, let's get into our state championship games. Let's start. We got our 2A game. Our boys that get down and dirty down in Bigelow took care of Mark Tree, man. They are rolling. I started reading up on these guys. They've got this class, and they were 0-10, and they've
won everything.
They've won everything.
That's crazy.
They're going to get down and dirty at War Memorial Stadium too. They're going to bring it with them.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It travels. They were 0-10.
I know.
This guy, Luke Starts, took over. They were 0-10.
Yeah,
and the guy survived. You know why? Because they must not have been very good before the 0-10. So, he didn't have to worry about momentum there. Yeah. But this guy has flipped this thing around. They are 45-4 and have won the last 4 conference championships at Bigelow.
Yeah.
And you want me to tell you something else too? If I was Luke, I would get in there and I would light a candle in that locker room and I'd go, hey, look here. We won last week. We beat the Tree. And we didn't have one article in the paper about us.
I know.
Nobody knows about our stats. Nobody knows about our quarterback. Nobody knows about anything about Bigelow. So I would blow the candle out and go, hey, boys, it's about time we go tell them about Bigelow. They'll leave that dark locker room. It just gave myself chills, for God's sake, somebody. I'm ready to go for Bigelow right there. I didn't even want to pick them. They're 13-0 too, by the way. No way he wants to talk about these.
I got to read up on it in work.
That's a crazy story.
On a mission now, playing EPC. The EPC's on a mission. I've talked to the EPC people this weekend. They're fired up. They didn't care if the Dallas Cowboys were going to be there. They're ready to go.
You're right on that one too. EPC is right in the mix of it. Beat Carlisle last week, 26-21. They got a great corner, Omar McCaston, who has 6 interceptions, and the Gaines boy. Let me just tell you what the Gaines guy did last week.
I love this guy.
You love this guy, right? He had 36 carries, 193 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He has 223 carries for 1,679 yards and 27 touchdowns. That guy is, that's like somebody's career. It would be like a pretty good career. That guy's got them at 12-1. They're playing really good on defense too. This is a tough.
Well, I'm going to tell you what we got going here. We got the Mouth going to take EPC. Grandma Nas taking EPC. Coach Williams is going to get down and dirty with the voice of Bigelow. I think they're packing something, baby. They're coming.
Yeah, they've got a plan. They're finding ways to win. Bigelow's finding ways to win. But like I said,
you got to compare scores, them Mark Tree, and that's kind of where I'm going with this.
There you go. I see where you went with that one. You went numbers on me. The guy went analytical. My guy went analytical on me.
I did.
I think I'm just going with the chip on my shoulder. I just got a big, gigantic chip on my shoulder if I'm Bigelow. Somebody asked me today, where is Bigelow? Really? We're 13-0, for God's sakes. Can somebody write an article on us? We're ready to go here. I'm going Bigelow in this.
Bigelow.
Because I'm mad.
They're going to get down.
Come on.
They're going to be bringing in crowd. Oh, man, they better get prepared.
Yeah.
Going everywhere.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right, let's head to the 5A state championship. We've got Parkview, who's actually kind of playing a home game there in Warren Stadium.
Yeah.
Shiloh, rematch from last year, close game last year. Parkview actually won. Shiloh has gone on the road. Been to Valley View, took care of business, went to Pine Bluff. A lot of people questioned they could do that. Took care of business.
I did.
And Parkview's pretty much just done what they did. The Fighting Vaughns gave good effort.
Hey, they did. Hey, they did. Even the Bolden boys said, hey, they had a good script there for a while.
Yeah.
Much improved Camden team.
Much improved.
Vaughn got them playing at the right time too.
He did, and he did a great job. Shiloh Christian's playing really well. Everybody over here, the mouth, Grandma and I, Coach Williams, we're going to stay with Parkview Patriots. We're just
You think. Well, let's talk about Shiloh here. Shiloh's 12-1. They went to Farmington, got beat somewhere in there. I wonder how they got opposite, but that's another story on the bracket there. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, golly, they're the Saints. All right, they beat Pine Bluff 49-41. This is their 5th straight title game.
Wow.
Get you some of that. All right, they have a running back named Bo Williams who had 42 carries for 274 yards last week. You thought I was going to say it on the season. This guy had 42 carries last week for 247 yards, 5 touchdowns. All right, he's 269 carries, 1,880 yards rushing, and 37 touchdowns. And they're big. The 2 tackles they got from Shiloh are gigantic. I mean, I'm sure Coach break that down for us a little bit more. I'm sure they're getting away with some holdings too, but who knows? They're scoring 47 points a night, Shiloh Christian is. All right, so they're used to putting up some points. Parkview also used to putting up some points. All right, but I think Parkview's defense is way better too, and I tell you why. I don't know how this happens, but I think Bobby, goes over to Brad and goes, "Hey, I need Robinson to play corner for a little while." And this is how it works, I think. I think he just comes over and goes, "Hey, I need Settles over here a little bit, play secondary." And it's worked. They have given up 115 points on the year. 9.6 points a game Parkview has. Scoring 46 a clip. Last week they went over the top. They ran it. Several different guys scored. The McGee guy hit Jermaine Perry for a 50-yard pass to kind of break that game open. But man, they got so many weapons, and then defensively, you overlook all the things they do up front. Man, they bring pressure from all over the place and fit run gaps, and they're really sound on the Parkview defensive side. And of course, their running backs are really good. Like I said, they're fantastic. That's why Brad should get a medal for being the running back coach. I mean, next year, I guess if he gets a really good quarterback, he just goes, "Hey, I'm the quarterback coach now." So I guess that's how it works. So this is going to be a good one too. But I think Parkview is on a mission to prove that they're the best team in the state of Arkansas. I think they're really good up front too. I don't see Shiloh bullying them as much as they got away with Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff turned it over 5 times, which that kills momentum the whole time. And like I said, Shiloh stuck with their game plan. So I'm going to take Parkview in this one.
Well, and I tell you what about Parkview too. They've stayed focused all year long. I mean,
the hardest thing in the world to do.
It is being that good and knowing, a couple of these games you're going into.
Like I always tell people, you can't lie to kids. Some kids see the internet now and they know who's good and who's not good, and all that good stuff. They get information like that. So, it's an amazing job of coaching. And people don't understand it's really hard to coach good players. Yeah. Because good players, you got to challenge them every day. Because if they don't get challenged, then, hey, I just sit around here and fiddle my thumbs. Yeah. But, you got to be able to challenge them good players, and they've done a really good job of this year.
They really have, and Shiloh has had phenomenal.
Yeah, heck yeah.
All right, let's head to 6A, which I think is one of the toughest.
Hey, wait, check this out. You want to get up the ratings right here. Look who just walked in this place.
Legend sounds right. In the house.
Talking about knowing about the playoffs.
Sit him down
there. Knows about the playoffs.
Last 2 picks.
Yeah.
We're going to check your work too, buddy. Sit down there. We want his picks too, man.
Oh, well, you got to pick the internet, man. Yeah. We just broke the internet. Look at that. Yeah. We're going to barely fit his head in here with me.
All right, here we go. Going 6A. Before we do this, let's go ahead and bring on Greenwood head coach, Coach Chris Young. Coach, first of all, congratulations. I mean, you've been unscathed all the way through. getting to the state finals. What is this, 3 or 4 years in a row for you?
This is 4 fourths.
Yeah, 4 years in a row for you. Just an amazing job. Your kids have played well. Your staff's done a great job. You've overcame injuries all year long, up and down. You've had to play different styles. Where I remember sitting over there and I texted everybody at one of your games and said, ladies and gentlemen, Greenwood has brought in 2 extra tackles, or actually 2 tight ends. Everybody make sure I took a picture of it. I've saved it in my phone, and so I kept it there. So you've had to be able to run the ball and throw it with some injuries this year, and congratulations getting to the state finals. Well, let's get into this team. I mean, you this will be the second go around. You had them at home early. I mean, late in the year, week 9 or 10 this past year, this past regular season. Talk to us about your mindset. You know them so well. We got to tweak a little bit of this, or we're staying the same. We believe in what we're doing. Obviously, talk to us where Christian is, where you saw them the last time you saw them, and where they're at now. What do you see?
Yeah, just a really solid football team. Very, very well coached. They got athletes everywhere, but it really starts with their quarterback. I mean, he's as good as I've seen in a long, long time. With his arm, with his legs. I mean, if their guys are open, he's putting the ball exactly where it needs to be, and he's really, really consistent. I think that's the biggest difference that I've seen in him over the last 2 years. He's really become a lot more accurate. He's gotten a lot better touch on his throws, and he's playing at an unreal level right now.
He is, and he was, just dropping them in there left and right this past Friday night against Benton, and he's a big kid and can run. Let's go to your team. I mean, you guys have just been a machine. And, the Archer boys, one on defense, one on offense, have been outstanding. Your receivers have been unbelievable. Your offensive line's played well, and probably the unsung hero defensively. Y'all have got a really solid defense. Where are y'all at health-wise this time of year? And, what are the key matchups that we're looking for into this ball game?
Yeah, we're as healthy as we've been in a long time, and we feel like we've got everybody available, and it's a good thing because we're going to need them all. You talk about matchups. I think our secondary is better than it's been in the past, more athletic. If they throw it up, we'll go get it, and it's a little bit different than we've been in the past. I think a big matchup is their receivers, who are very, very talented, against our secondary. And like you said, if you're not right on them, he's going to make the throw and put it where it needs to be. So it's a little bit different. Normally in high school football, you have an opportunity to break on a ball, and, the ball's lobbed in the air a little bit. This guy's throwing rockets. And so if they're open at all, he's going to complete passes, and their receivers run great routes. They catch the ball really well. So I think the biggest part of this game is going to be our defensive backs matching up with their wide receivers.
Well, let's get into this. We just had your former boss on here, Rick Jones, and brought him on talking about, the difficulties, playing Saturday at noon and getting that extra day, and the things you're having to deal with, what you've dealt with the last 4 years, all the T-shirts, and everybody wants a parade, and we want to feed them, and all, those things, and how you deal with that. You kind of got the luck of the draw because you're Friday at 6:30, so really, as far as prep time, and you're not having to change it all up. What's your schedule looking like on a Friday? You just going to treat it normal, but you got those pictures and all that kind of stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, we are. We're going to kick off at 6:40. I just worked on our schedule a little bit ago, and it's very, very similar to what we do. They've taken out some stuff at the state finals they used to do. They don't do the team pictures anymore.
Oh!
I'm fired up about that. So we get to keep a regular schedule, and so it's going to be like any Friday night for us. We're going to bump everything up about 20 minutes. We'll leave out of here about noon, stop in Conway and eat. And, load up and make the drive to War Memorial and get ready just like any Friday night.
So no team pictures. I used to
no team pictures. I saw a smile on your face. You just
man, they finally got that right, baby. And so me and Rick were talking about the most important thing is the team picture. Not the game. And then that part of it. Well, Coach, I'll get you off here, man. Hey, congratulations on getting to the state finals. Your team's been perfect all year long, and I know you expect to be perfect this Friday night, and it should be an outstanding ball game.
Well, we're excited. We appreciate you having us on here. Appreciate what you're doing for high school football.
Well, we were having a lot of fun with it. Enjoy, get to work there, get a good plan going.
All right, Coach. Bye-bye.
Everybody. All right, Chris Young feels really good about this. Feels like he's got a good plan. I tell you what, I watched Christian last week, and I've watched them play earlier this year. And it's about a 3-minute span that happened, right before the half and right after.
Hey, right before the half, though, this is what happens when you play at home at Greenwood. You ready for this?
1 second.
There was 7 seconds left. They threw it out of bounds, and there was 1 second left.
So they were.
I mean, master clock keeper at home is what I'm talking
They
about.
got coached over there.
Yeah, next play, touchdown.
Chris Young's the AD too. So I mean, he's coaching the work.
There you go.
I mean,
There you go.
They bases those guys. They are going with Christian looked awful good last week, and Greenwood's kind of like Bobby and them. They've just stayed focused. They've had, just like Coach Young talked about, had overcome a lot of injuries this year and just stayed focused. This one here will go down to the wire. Mark it down. It will. It will go down the wire. I'm going to take Greenwood. The mouth is taking Greenwood. Grandma now is going to go with the Christians over there at Little Rock Christian. She was really good there where they looked last week against Benton. Break that for us.
They beat Benton, Little Rock Christian, 42-35 last week. They played so well. Ready for this? They played so well they got some kind of magical number. Now they're going to be a 7A football team next week. So I don't know how that works.
Hey,
but the magic,
yeah.
So magical formula. Not only you got a chance to win state. Hey, by the way, we're going to move you up. So they got that going for them. Like I said, they've averaged 49 points on the year. This is their first time in 6A state title game. It's the first time. It looks like it's going to be their last because they're going to be bumped up 7A. The Walker kid's phenomenal. Last week he was 21 of 34 for 319 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. He had 16 carries for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's going to go play for Hugh Freeze. Really? Okay, well, he went 176 of 307 on the year, over 3,000 yards, 35 touchdowns. He is the show over there. But here's the thing about Christian, too, is I think Christian defensively is a lot better than they were in the Greenwood game. I think they kind of got shell-shocked a little bit, and it kind of hurt them in that game.
Well, you know what? I heard a stat. I don't know how true it is. I didn't research it, but they played with the same 11 guys on defense all year long. And I don't know if that's true. Coach told me that. Said they had an injury on there, and they've just continued to get better.
Yeah, that can happen. But how much better we'll see pretty soon. Greenwood's averaging 52 points a game. Kane Archer show last week, 19 of 23 for 205, 4 touchdowns, 6 carries for 37, 2 touchdowns. They had 2 wide receivers catch one-arm touchdowns. They just one-arm grab it, like me and Johnny used to do all the time. The Carnes kid's phenomenal. Braden Davis is a running back. He's over 1,300 yards. Here's the difference, though, on their defense. The Skaggs kid picked off. He's got 7 interceptions, picked a 6 last week. On defense this year, Greenwood has scored pick sixes 6 times. They've got six pickoffs that have led to a touchdown, directly to a touchdown, pick sixes. They had 6 sacks last week and 2 interceptions against PA, which likes to throw the ball. Cash Money Archer, Cash Man. He had 3 sacks last week, 18 sacks on the year. He is the human eraser. He is the eraser. All right, we got to get this guy out. He's an eraser, buddy, the Archer Man. So I'm telling you, stick with Greenwood winning this one. It's going to be a heck of a show, and it's going to be probably a packed house, if I'm guessing, because the whole town of Greenwood's coming, and Little Rock is about the only one left besides Parkview here. And I know that they're going to come out in droves too.
All right, Coach Rice, who you got in this one, buddy?
Well, I've been blessed. I've won a few championships.
Hey,
had some success in the state tournament.
I've been there. See you at the game a few times.
You've been there a few times between there and Oakland. You did show up at the game. I'll give you credit for that. But when big games, your best players usually show up and make the difference. And saying that, I'm gonna go with Little Rock Christian with Walker White.
Christian right there. I don't think that's a bad pick. I think it's back and forth.
Johnny goes to church for some of them guys.
Oh, okay. I say,
he's going. He's going with his heart.
We'll have him back on next week checking his work. Because he's retired, we're still checking your people's work. It don't matter if you're retired or not. We check grandma work every week. Everybody gets a work checked around.
There you go.
All right, let's go on to 7A. Got the I believe that's the noon game on Saturday. We got. If anybody said this at the beginning of the year, I could see them maybe putting one in there. But if you'd have said Bentonville and Fayetteville, we've been talking Bryant, Conway all the way through. Bentonville, Fayetteville. Let me give you. I know a little something about these two guys. I got to see Fayetteville play live last week, and let me give you a little history here. Who's usually won the regular season game has lost in the finals. Been vice versa with Bentonville, always kind of winning the regular season, and of course they won a lot of state championships too. But with Fayetteville, it's kind of been that kind of funny deal. Big role reversal here. Bentonville goes to Bryant, dominates. What a great game. Fayetteville squeaks out against Conway. Got to watch them live. Got great team speed over there with Fayetteville. They can run.
Yeah.
And the quarterback can sling it, which everybody knows. I'm going with the Purple Dogs. Grandma Na's going with the Purple Dogs. And the Mount's going to go with Bentonville.
Man. So we got, what we get? 3 Purple Dogs and one Tiger.
One Tiger. Huh.
Let's see.
I talked to a guy that's real close to you, by the way, on the way over here.
You know Bentonville beat Bryant, right?
Yeah.
At Bryant. Okay, I just want to make sure
that's all the Mouth need to hear.
It was 52-35. It was the first loss for Bryant. Check this out. This is amazing. Since 2018, when North Little Rock beat them in the finals.
It's been a while.
That's been a while. Been a while since they've actually gotten beat by that actually happening. Fayetteville won 24-21 over Conway. They're averaging 47 points a night. The game against Conway was, I don't know if I was more puzzled on some of it or just I just couldn't figure. I thought Fayetteville had a great plan defensively. And then I don't think that Conway just, I don't know, they played sloppy going into it. And I think Fayetteville kind of took advantage of it, started running the football a little bit there, had all that good stuff. Lindsey, that was the thing. He was 20 of 29 for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is a good game for most people, but not what he's been doing. Setzer was the one that I thought made the difference. He had 21 carries for 123 yards. He got to the secondary a couple times and made their drives longer too. He had 1 TD. Of course, Lindsey threw a touchdown to the Delman kid, caught 6 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown. He's their big outside weapon there. He's got 79 catches on the year for 1,302 yards, 17 touchdowns. Lindsey's numbers, wow. On the season, he's thrown for over 3,569 yards and 51 touchdowns.
I was on the field, and that guy Conway's quarterback's outstanding. But this guy it's out. It's out quick, and he's got a big arm. He sees things. I mean, he don't get rattled very much. I tell you what was funny. PJ Fleck, when they played here, Coach Fleck came to watch him play, and he was in the end zone. And I remember kind of walking over there by him, and they go, "Hey, who you watching?" And I was like going, 6? I don't know why you're asking, because he's not hard to find. He's a heck of a quarterback. I think he's going to have a heck of a career just because of his body build. He's a big dude. I mean, he is a big guy. He can spin it. But I'll tell you what, Bentonville, they're a lot alike. Carter Nye's come back. He's been on a tear. He doesn't turn the ball over. On him. He looked phenomenal Friday night.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, you want to talk about like doing a game plan. I mean, that guy has come back on a tear. But he went 15 of 27 for 238 and 4 touchdowns. He hit CJ with a 49-yard catch. The Brown kid, he hit the Coon kid for a 36-yard touchdown. Brown on the year is over 55 catches and over 1,200 yards. Got 17 touchdowns. And of course, what do we always say? Don't kick it to him because he's going to take it. Yes. Yeah. And Brian did all kinds. That special teams there it cost him a little bit too. But man, this is going to be a heck of a game. man, I just think the way that Bentonville finished the game, I think made a statement to me. I don't know if it made it to anybody else, but I think Jody's got those guys ready to go, and I think they're going to win a state championship this year. I'm going to take Bentonville over Fayetteville.
I could go either way, and Bentonville's playing a big chip on his shoulder. All right, Coach Rice, here we go. We're putting you in the book here, buddy.
Well, basketball wise, they say all the time that it's hard to beat somebody 3 times. I would hear that all the time. If we played somebody in the state finals that we'd already beat twice, you hear that all the time. So you're thinking football, it might be hard to beat somebody twice, since you don't play everybody like you do in basketball. You don't play as many times. But I remember back in the times that Patton was at Fayetteville, he won 4 state championships. Was he ever the number 1 seed?
Never. I was
And so I think he won all 4 as not being the number 1 seed.
Things too sometimes. Yeah, he went through us a few times to get there. You know what I mean? Yeah, Daryl and them were there. This is the first time Fayetteville's been their conference champs undefeated in forever. They're always a lower seed, and it's kind of been vice versa. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm
going to go right there and think that Bentonville, the statement they did, and coming out there is not the number 1 seed. They're gonna. I say they're gonna win it.
All right, Coach Rice is going Bentonville right there. This will be an interesting matchup because I think Jody's got them playing really well.
Oh yeah,
I think Fayetteville's playing well also. They played. They come out like rabbits out of a hole the other night. They were excited.
Well, I mean, they held Conway to 21 points.
Yeah, Lord.
That was the big thing right there. I mean, they held them to 21 points. I just think how Bentonville finished the game. I just like coaches that fist bump, man. I like fist bumping.
Man, give it to them.
I like guys just come out of their fist bumping, man. That's what I like. Big offensive line, just slobber knocker. We're coming off the ball. That's what I want to see, for God's sakes. That's what I've seen Friday night.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You got a game Thursday, don't you?
Yeah, I go play in Rogers against Rogers Thursday.
Had good Thanksgiving weekend. Johnny, what have you been doing here lately, buddy?
Hey, if anybody's got any retirement investment questions, just give me a call. 501-690-4097. I'm your guy.
You got
all that guy,
number, folks, right there.
mean, Championship Financials. It's not really. I just made that up. Championship Coaches Financials. I don't know. I need
to see you about this. I want to make a phone call.
Completely up to that.
Exactly. Well, you guys have a great time. We'll see you next week. Got one more week, Daryl. Got another state championship run. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Great ball games. Headed into Friday. Are you guys working or what we're doing here?
No, I'll still be playing, but I'll be cheering for Bigelow, buddy. Burn the candle. Burn the candle.
You always have a good one.
See you, buddy.
Week, man. Bye.
Man, what a great show, man. What the information we just got is unbelievable. And I tell you what a phenomenal show. Great job by Bobby and Coach Jones and obviously Mr. Triple Crown got some picks there. Well, Bray, man, I guess we're getting almost Christmas time here. Now we're moving on into December. Tell everybody had a great episode for Thanksgiving. A lot of views.
Yeah, we did.
Subscribers are jumping. Talk to everybody where they can find us and help us out.
Yeah, we're going to be on YouTube, Coaches in the Mouth Pod. That's going to be our handle, and you can search us, find us, like, subscribe. Every subscription helps us continue to produce this show, so that's a big deal. We're almost over that 1,000 follower hump, which will be a big mark for the podcast. Now on X and Twitter, Coaches Pod is our handle, which our shows will be broadcast there live as well. And then, of course, we're on TikTok, Instagram, all the goods. Got the Reels. We're going to have Fimp on the Reels.
Oh, that's
so many highlights. So,
oh, my God.
So he's gonna go viral, I believe it.
Oh, man. Fimp and the Reels, man. The guy's out of control, man. He's out of control.
He's a wild card.
He is. Well, for Coach Jeff Williams, Coach Bray Cook, we'll see you next time on the Coaches in the Mouth.